Hi VC, it's Aaron with Alamere. Today I'm entering a contest for my friend Ron Haggerty. His channel is Ron Haggerty's Final Pasta. Really great channel. I've been watching Ron for years before I entered the VC. And he's a really great guy. I know him from doing collaboration videos with him and Chris Profi and Pete CD Vinyl World. And we've done a few collaboration videos over the last, a few months ago. And Ron is such a nice guy. He's just one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And this contest is really cool. The contest is, what's your favorite year in music? And I have a whole era that's kind of my favorite. It's like late 80s, early 90s, that whole era there. But probably 1990 is my very favorite year. Had some of my very favorite albums. A bunch of just my top 10 albums of all time are in that year. So I went with 1990. And all these records up behind me are from 1990. And he's got 6 questions here. So I'll get going on this contest. And one of the questions I'll have to answer at the end because it ties into the end question. So first, show an overrated album. Now, to me, this is an overrated album because it's so highly regarded. And I think this band is good, but I've just never really... they've never grabbed me like a lot of other bands. I mean, back in the 90s, I was really into like the heavy metal, especially the glam metal, thrash, and grunge. I was into all that. I didn't have like just one or the other. I was into all that a lot. Plus, I liked a little bit of classic rock, but I was really into the metal side of things back then. And this band came out, and everyone just thought it was the greatest thing in the world, and I never got it. I mean, I really liked one of the songs, and the rest of it's just kind of average to me. But this is the Black Crowes with Shake Your Moneymaker. And a lot of people just absolutely love this album. I remember when it came out, I heard it so much. And I do like the song Jealous again. That's pretty good. The rest of this album I could take or leave, though. Especially like She Talks to Angels. I've never liked that song. I don't know why. And the rest of the album, I mean, it's still a good record. But it's not one I go to very often. I just think it's a little overrated because people just think it's so great. And I prefer their second album to this. Although this has, it's got its moments. It just never really struck me like a lot of other albums out of this year. And a lot of people I know, this is like one of their favorite records. So that's why, to me, it's a little overrated. Although it's still a decent record. Next up, show an underrated album. And this album is really underrated as far as I'm concerned. This band doesn't really get their due. They're still playing. And this is Beg to Differ from Prong. This album is so good. It's like a technical, progressive, metal, kind of ahead of its time. They're a 3-piece band, and it's just such a great album. Stuff like, just every song. The song Beg to Differ is so good. Every song's good on this. It's just an amazing, amazing record, and I think it's very underrated. A lot of these albums up behind me are really underrated, too. So, okay, next up is show a comeback album. Now, this is kind of a hard one for this year because there's no band that I see that really just had like a big break and came back. But I'm choosing this record because to their core fans, it was a comeback to their style. Because their previous 2 records made them ultra popular, but they went a little mellower. This album, they came back with a vengeance. This is Judas Priest with Painkiller, and this one is just back to their heavy metal roots after Turbo and Ram It Down, which I like, but they were just, going in a different direction. This one, they went back to their aggressive metal roots, and a lot of their core fans really jumped back on with them during this album, and that's why I think it's a good comeback record, even though, they were still going, but this one just brought their core fans back into it, and it's a great record. Okay, next up is show your favorite debut album, but that will be on the last question, so I'll kind of explain that later. And then an album that you wish you had from that year, and I have it on CD, but I really want this on vinyl. This is Don Dokken, Up From the Ashes. Love this album. I think it's almost as good as any Dokken record. It's just an amazing album. Mirror Mirror is a single. That's great. Had John Norum on guitar, Mickey D on the drums. Really good album. I love this. And I just have never ran across this on vinyl to buy. So if I ever see it, I will pick it up. I love that album. That's my one I'm looking for the most on vinyl. And lastly is my top 5 albums from this year. And so 3 of these are debut records. And my number 1 is a debut. And my number 2. So that's why I didn't answer the number 4 yet. which is your favorite debut from this year. So I'll start out with my number 5 from 1990, and this is a debut as well. And this is Spread Eagle. Love this album. It is so aggressive and gritty and heavy. It's the heavier part of the glam sleaze metal thing. And they're a band from New York, very street-oriented, great album. Love Spread Eagle. Switchblade Serenade is just so catchy, and just every song in here is amazing. Dead of Winter, Scratch Like a Cat, fast and aggressive, really great album. This is my number 5. My number 4, this is one of my favorite albums by one of my favorite thrash bands, and any of these top 5, like on different years, would be my favorite of that year. That's how much I like these records. That's why I picked this year. This is Act 3 from Death Angel. And Death Angel is probably my second or third favorite thrash band, behind maybe Megadeth, Anthrax, Death Angel, probably my 3 favorites. I love Death Angel, and this is my favorite Death Angel record, even though I love all of them. But, Seemingly Endless Time and the organization and just Veil of Deception. I love the 2 slower songs, That and A Room with a View, are just so killer. And this is just a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. I love Act 3. My number 3, and man, almost any other year, this would be my number 1 album of the year. It is just a classic masterpiece. Rust in Peace from Megadeth. Such a great album. Maybe Megadeth's best. I think I like Peace Sells just a little better, but it's really close. But those are my 2 favorite Megadeth records, this and Peace Sells. And, every song's great on it. Everyone. Lucretia, Tornado of Souls, Holy Wars, one of the best metal songs of all time. Amazing record. And number 2, and I still can't believe this is my number 2 because I love this so much. And this is a debut. They only had 2 albums, and I talk about them a lot. Sweet FA, Stick to Your Guns. One of my favorite debuts of all time. One of my favorite albums of all time. I just love this album. It's just a masterpiece as far as I consider all these 5 are. This is just so great. They combine like the glam metal, but they're not really glam, with kind of a street sleaze metal. Just really great stuff. When I first heard about them, they were described as David Lee Roth era Van Halen mixed with Guns N' Roses. That's kind of what they sound like, but they have their own sound. They're not a clone of anyone. Great album. They're just an amazing band. And my number 1 album of 1990, which is also maybe my favorite debut of all time, and that's saying something. This is Allison Chains' Facelift. This album changed my whole musical landscape when I heard it. It just blew me away so much, and everything after this I kind of compared to it. It's just the aggressive heaviness of We Die Young, Sea of Sorrow, Man in the Box, Sunshine. Just every song on it is so great. Real Thing, Bleed the Freak. The vocal harmonies that Lane Staley and Jerry Cantrell do on this are just really unique, and a lot of people have copied that since, but no one did it quite as well. And this album is just so amazing. I'm so happy they reissued this because I had an original bootleg, like an original Brazilian copy that sounded horrible. This is one of my best sounding records, and it's just amazing. I love Facelift, and that's probably why 1990 is my favorite year. I mean, my 3rd favorite is Rust in Peace, one of my top 20 albums of all time, maybe top 10. So, I mean, it's just, this year is just a phenomenal year. And everybody, go check out Ron Haggerty's Vinyl Pasta, sub him up. He just restarted his channel, so he doesn't have a lot of subs. And, he's been around for probably a decade in the VC. I don't know if it's that long, but quite a while. And such a great guy. And, all right, Ron, here's your entry, and I will see everyone later.